And welcome. Hello, my name is Dan. I am here live from the School for Poetic Computation on Thursday morning around 10 in the morning on March 31st. Tomorrow is April Fool's Day. So I'm going to be here for an hour or so doing some tutorials for you. My glasses are quite dirty. I should have washed them. And the topic that I'm going to explore is video and pixels in P5.js. That's my plan. I have a couple things I want to do before I get to that. I've got a live chat going on both Twitch and YouTube, I believe, so I'm going to check that, see if there are any questions. Before I get to any of that, I would like to know if the audio is okay. A couple days ago, I had this problem with the audio crackling, so I would like to know if the audio sounds good, if the picture is good. There's also this whiteboard over here that I might use at some point, so let me know. I still am working out the lighting. I don't really like it so far, but let me know if this is at least sort of legible and in focus. And I'm back over here. I'm going to look at the chats now to see if people are saying that things sound okay. Less delay here and audio is good. That's good to hear. Thank you very much. Audio is fine today. Awesome. Okay, that's great. Let's see what's going on here. We've got, I don't know where my admin panel on Twitch is, but that's okay. I'm going to look over here on YouTube, and there are 7 people watching. Okay, so great. Like last time when I did this, I spent like 45 minutes just like working out a technical problem, so I'm just going to jump in today. So actually, the first thing I want to do is I've been using this thing that's behind me over here, the P5 editor. And the P5 editor allows you to type your code and run your code and see the result in a browser. But I want to work today in using a separate text editor, Sublime Text, and I want to just view the output in the Chrome browser itself. And I want to make a short video that talks about how to do that, what it means to run a local server, and also how to use the Chrome developer tools in the console. So I'm just going to make a short video about that, which will then allow me to use those tools in my other videos about video in P5. That's my plan. So a couple things though, actually. Let me see if I can find, I should have done this in advance, but I have a license. I have a license for Sublime Text, and I want to Sublime Text license. I want to put in my license so that I don't get those pop-ups. License key. Oh, that's not right. Oh boy, I'm never going to be able to. All right, I guess I'll worry about this later. Or maybe I won't worry about this later. I'm going to do this now. Okay, hold on a second. I'm going to unplug this for a second. I just don't want my email to, I have to look up the license in my email, and I don't want that to be broadcast live. Usually I don't care about this sort of stuff, but who knows who's privately emailing me and doesn't want their name suddenly on the screen. So I'm going to narrate what I'm doing here. I'm looking at my computer, and I'm looking for Sublime license, and if I search for that, Sublime license key 2012, is that when I purchased it? Let's see if that works. And then I'm going to open up Sublime, and I'm going to go to Preferences, Service, License, Help, Purchase License, Enter License. Let me paste that in there, Use License, thanks for purchasing. Great, okay, so that's done. I can log out of my email, and I can plug this back in, and there it is. And now I've got Sublime over here. And I'm gonna close this. Okay, there's lots of extra stuff on the desktop here, but I think that's okay. I need terminal also open here. The couple things that I want to reference. I'm gonna open up terminal. How's the font size? Make that a little bit bigger. Whoops. And there we go. That's probably pretty good. Move that over here. The other thing I want to reference in this tutorial I'm going to make is I'm going to look for p5.js local. There's a wiki page, p5.js local server. One of these days, I'll have my computer positioned in such a way that I can look at the camera. But I'm looking down. It's particularly low, the laptop in here. I could probably get it a little bit higher. You could see all my lovely stickers. Okay, so I want to reference this web page. Where am I standing? Right about here. And so if I move this here and do this, hit refresh, you can see this here. Okay, so now I have terminal. Oh, and I have Sublime. Let me make this window like this. Okay, and now, okay. So that's good. Now the other thing I want to do is just make a dummy sketch. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to, oops, I lost, don't disconnect computer. I'm going to just check and see if anybody's asking anything. Somebody's reporting a slight little jump in the sound every now and then. Anybody let me know if you're having any issues. No, I didn't wait 4 years. What I do, so the reason why I had to enter in my license key, this is like the least interesting thing I could ever possibly talk about on a live stream. But the reason why is because I created a new user login to this computer so I could configure the screen the way I want it for tutorials, which is separate from my regular login. And so I just never licensed Sublime in that login. Okay, so I want to hide the sidebar, and I want to do this on the desktop as test sketch, and I'm going to say create canvas 320 240 and background 0 and line xmon, something like ellipse x 120. Sorry, I'm just going to put something in here, and var x equals 0 and x equals x plus 1. If x, I don't know, I need a better default sketch. So this is just a sketch that does something. Oops. Oh, it's running in the browser already. Off. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so great. I think I'm about ready to go. Let's see who we've got here. Is anybody here? Sound is fine, very minor. Okay, 11 people. Good morning. Good morning. Time for some jumping jacks. Everybody stand up, do some jumping jacks with me. That probably did something weird to your sound. Okay, so I'm getting ready. To this morning, the topic will be a video, recorded video, live video in P5. The first tutorial I'm going to do is simply about running a local server and editing your code in a separate text editor because I'm looking at the Chrome Developer Console. I've got my whiteboard over here, which I will erase. I don't think I need it for this video. And I'm wearing these headphones, which is totally unnecessary. Good thing I noticed that. That would be weird to record a whole video wearing headphones. I was testing the audio, which seemed fine. Let me give myself some more slack here. I don't know what I'm doing with this. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to cycle the cameras so that they don't turn off automatically. And now, here we go. Okay, so this should be a short 5 to 10 minute video tutorial lesson about what I said it was going to be about. Okay, let's just get started. I'm going to do the opposite. The other day I took like 45 minutes before I did anything. I'm just going to try to get going. And here we go. Hello. In this video, where should I stand? What do you think? In this video, I'm going to look at how to work on your P5.js sketch, or really any HTML, JavaScript, CSS combo thingamabob, outside of, in any old text editor by running a local server on your laptop. Now, what does that mean? Actually, I'm going to use the whiteboard for a second. So let's just think about the internet and the web and all that stuff for a second. So you are making a web page, and you have a laptop. And to make your web page, you're maybe editing an HTML file, maybe you have a CSS file, maybe you have a JavaScript file. And you're editing all these files. They're just plain text files, and you're editing them in some text editor. So the text editor I'm going to use happens to be one called Sublime, but you can use any text editor. List of text editors, I would say now, if I could think of them. But I'll put some in the comments, and you can write some in the comments. Put your favorite text editor in the comments. But I'm going to use Sublime Text. So you're editing these files. Now, one of the things I'm going to show you is that, another thing that you're going to run on your laptop is a thing called a browser. And your browser actually has the ability just to open those files. So you could ask your browser, open the HTML file, and you're going to see that the result of that file in the browser. I'm going to fix the mic here in the middle of this video. I didn't do a good job of this. Shoot. Hold on, I got to start. Pause. It's fine. You know what? I'm going to start over. I don't need to start over. I'm just going to fix the mic, and I'll edit it together. I hate doing that. What's a better way? I don't know why. All right, maybe I should just suck it up and button this shirt. Where am I? Now this will come up like this. What I should do is probably loop it and then use a piece of tape. There are all these professional ways of doing this. Oh, I'm getting a text message. Or no. Just a notification on my phone. Wait. Okay. I think that's going to be better with the audio now. Let me go back and just see. Let's see what's going on here. The mic was fine. Thanks. I know, but it was the mic might have been fine audio-wise, but it was tugging on me and it was feeling weird. So I'm gonna pick up from where I left off somehow. Okay. Edit. Somehow I'll edit this. Edit, magic edit. So crap, I don't even know what I was talking about. Try that again. Okay, the thing that I'm talking about is the browser, opening the file in the browser. Okay. Magic edit. So if you open those files from the browser, you're going to see the result of those in the browser. Now, let's think of what's your ultimate goal here. Ultimately, the idea probably is that you have a server, and you have your server hosting some website, website.com. And ultimately what you're going to do is you're going to take your files and put them on a server so that other people on their laptops and computers or phones or whatever it is can connect and look at your files. So by opening the HTML file from the browser, you aren't actually doing what the web server itself will do, which will ultimately serve up the files so that other people can request them. So and in fact, a lot of things won't work if you just open those files. So, okay, I guess to keep going. I can't start over and erase all this. So ultimately what you want to do is, by the way, the YouTube makes these charts. You can look at these charts where you see people drop off and stop watching your video, and just about everybody stopped watching this video now. But for the few of you who are remaining, I'm going to keep going with this. So what you ultimately want to do is run something which I'll call a local server. So if you run a local web server on this machine, you are more accurately simulating what will happen when you eventually upload your files to a server, and everything will look and work and function correctly. So this is what I want to show you in this video. How do you edit your files with a text editor, run a local server so that you can see the result in the file of those files in your browser and accurately simulate the environment that will eventually exist when you publish your stuff to the world and become the person who publishes their stuff to the world. There we go. Okay, so let's go back to the computer now and take a look at this. So this is actually the P5 desktop editor, which you may or may not have used. Actually does all this for you. It's a text editor. You hit this run button and it spawns a local server. It opens a little browser which shows your page. But what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to just quit out of it. And I'm going to show you that if I go to my computer's desktop, I don't know if you can't really see this, and I go here, there's a folder called Test Sketch, and in this folder are the files associated with my sketch. There's an HTML file, a JavaScript file, and a folder called Libraries. That Libraries folder is where the P5.js library itself exists. So what I want to do is now I have a text editor called Sublime Text. You can Google it, you can find it, you can use any text editor you want. And what I want to do is look at those files in Sublime Text. One way I can do that is actually just take this and drag it in. And now you can see here that I'm now browsing and looking at those files. And if I wanted to edit my code, I could look at it right here. And now I can edit the code. I can actually make the font a little bit bigger. And you can see here I'm editing my code. Now, let me make the next point. If I just go back here and click on this HTML file, I have no idea what's going to happen. It's going to open it in some default browser. It might be Safari, it might be Chrome. If I open it, it opens it in Chrome, and you can see it's working. It's actually running. But look what's happening up here. It's opening it from the file path. File users processing desktops test sketch. So while this works, there are a lot of things that won't work when you're opening it just from the file path itself. That only work if you're using a local server, running a local server. Certain things like loading an image file into your sketch, for example, won't work. So while this is okay as a solution, a quick and dirty test, I personally would recommend never doing it this way. Instead, you want to run a local server. So there happens to be this wiki on GitHub under the P5.js wiki, which has a bunch of different instructions of different ways you can run a local server on different operating systems. Windows, Linux, Mac, Apache, blah, blah, blah. The thing that I'm going to use, which I think is the simplest, is since I'm on a Mac and Macs come with Python installed, I can just run a Python local server from any directory I want. So what I'm going to do, the way I'm going to do this is by running terminal. So if you don't know where terminal is, it's in the applications utilities. There's an application called terminal. When you run it, it looks something like this. This is giving you console command line access to your computer, and I can type various things. Like if I type pwd, that stands for print working directory. And you can see, I'm in user/processing. And if I just type cd, that means change directory. And if I type desktop, I want to change to the desktop. And now if I type pwd, I can see, I'm in users processing desktop. Other things I can do is I can hit the up arrow. The up arrow goes to my most recent command, and I see it again. And now, if I'm on the desktop, I can run a local server from here. And I can say Python -m simple HTTP server. So this just happens to be a command that I have memorized, but I'm saying I want to run a Python program that's built into the Macintosh. It's called simple HTTP server. I forget what the -m stands for. Somebody will tell me in the comments. I hit enter, and you can see, serving HTTP on 000 port 8000. What this means is this computer is now running a web server. Where is the web server running? It's running on localhost, and another way of saying localhost is 0.0.0.0. So that's the IP address, the internet protocol address, the numeric address of a computer on the internet, and those numbers can become rather important, but for us right now, we can just think of it as localhost, port 8000 being the port that other people can connect to. Who are the other people? They're me. So I am the other person, and what I want to do now is go up here, right? And instead of accessing my sketch from file, what I want to do is say HTTP localhost. Now you can see I've done this before on this computer, so it's already like pre-filling it in, but I want to go to localhost : port 8000. localhost colon port 8000. I hit enter. Now, you don't actually see my sketch because actually what I now see is a view of everything on the desktop. So you can see I have a bunch of other things, like I was doing this photo booth P5 demo, which has this snap button, which allows me to take. So this is something I'm going to make a tutorial about in a minute. Another video, watch a few videos from now, you'll find this one. But you can see I'm sort of browsing. This is the minimum spanning tree example. So I have a bunch of folders with sketches. I'm sort of serving up my whole desktop, which I can choose to do or not to do. But what I'm looking for is test sketch. This is the one, and I can make it bigger in Chrome by Shift-Command+. So now I see the sketch running. And I could go back to the code and I could say, hey, let me change the background to 100, hit save, tab over to Chrome, hit refresh, and you can see now I have the new sketch running. So this is another way of working outside of some all-in-one editor environment. Text editor, local server, browser. But missing piece. Let's say in the draw loop, I want to debug the value of x. So I'm going to say console.log x. Now I could have said println x. Println is a P5 specific function that prints something to the console. Console.log is the sort of native JavaScript version of that function, basically the same thing. But if I put that in there and I go back and hit refresh, where is it? I don't see it, no log, no console. So in Chrome, I can use something called the Chrome Developer Tools. Are you excited? You shouldn't be. Maybe you are. Maybe you should be. I don't know. So where do you get those? View, up here under View, Developer Tools. But I want to go straight to the JavaScript console. The developer tools are this massive thing that has all sorts of inspect this, look at that, HTML, CSS, style this, magic this. All I really care about is the JavaScript console right now. I want to see things that are console.logged. So I'm going to select JavaScript console, and it's going to appear. Now, it won't necessarily look like this on your computer. You're probably going to see it at the bottom. You're probably going to see it a lot smaller. But what I've done, there's various ways you can like move it around and change the font size. I want it to be kind of rather big, so I can, for a tutorial, you can see it. So what's nice here is you can see there's the result, and it's showing me each one of these things is printing from sketch.js line number 8. So if I go over here and see line number 8, console.log x. So that's great. Now, I can also comment this out and refresh the sketch. One of the wonderful things about the Chrome JavaScript console is that it is interactive. What do I mean by that? I can actually type in the value x, the variable x, which is a variable in my program, hit enter, and it's going to show me the current value of x. So I can kind of live debug as the program's running. I can do other things, like I could say x equals 50. It's getting to the other side of the screen, hit enter, and you can see that I actually changed on the fly the value of that variable, and it moved. I can do other things like, what if I said no loop? No loop is a function in P5 that turns off draw, and suddenly it stops looping. I can say loop. I can do things like just call other functions, like if I say create P, hello. Create P is a P5 function that creates a paragraph DOM element. And there you go. Hello is right there. It's also showing me what's in that DOM element. And there's a lot more to this. And as I make other tutorials that use the Chrome Developer Console, you'll see more and more about it. So this has been about 10 minutes. Hopefully this helped you make sense of the world. It's a very hard world to make sense of these days. And this probably doesn't help make sense of the world, but it makes sense of a small part of the world, the local server on your laptop with the Chrome Developer Tools. I'm sure you have questions, and I will answer them somehow in a way. I don't know how yet, but in the comments of this video or in another video. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video, maybe, maybe not. Okay, thanks very much. I'm gonna hit stop. Okay. So I'm now still live streaming for those of you, but I recorded that. I need to edit it together, unfortunately. Okay. I'm going to read through the discussion here for a second to see if I have anything to add. Regarding text editors, JEdit. Oh, Adam from GitHub is a good one. Probably should have mentioned that. Note tab, Visual Studio Code. Brackets is good. Notepad. Brackets has a built-in server. Yeah, I probably should use all these. Someone says hoping for Connect discussion today. We'll see if we can get to that. Okay, microphone fell off. Okay, M is for module, probably. Localhost, I thought localhost was always 127.0.0.1. That is correct. I don't know why Python is telling me. So let's investigate this. 127.0.0.1. That obviously works as it should. 0.0.0.0 also works. So these are just other ways that seem to work. Oops, that's funny. Not so funny. These are, I guess either of those work. All zeros are localhost. Okay, let me check Twitch. -m mod, run library module as a script, terminates option list. Okay, great. All right, so now that I made that video and finished it, I'm just going to do something. I need to rename the files because I get confused later, so if you guys won't mind bearing with me. Here, you can't see this, unfortunately. I have another computer which records video files to disk, and what I can do is I don't know which one these are. I'm going to call this local server 1, local server 2, local server 3. Okay, so I named those files, so hopefully those will get saved. And here we go. Oh, wow, there's 30 people watching on YouTube. That's amazing. Hello, everybody. Okay, so let me take a minute here for all of you watching live to just say a few words about my kind of overall plan. So I keep this GitHub gist. I don't know, I guess if you go to gist.github.com/Schiffman, you can probably find it. This is where I keep track of like a list of everything I hope to make. And I have some larger series that I'm hoping to do. I kind of don't, for some reason I've been shying away from I'm hoping next week to pick one of these. I want to make some videos about neural networks, which I've been afraid of doing, but I've just decided there's so much happening in kind of the machine learning with art, creative coding stuff that I feel like I should maybe try to revisit that, even though it terrifies me and it's not really necessarily an area of my expertise. I've been working with the Raspberry Pi in processing, so I want to make a few videos about that. Chrome extensions is something we want to do. A lot of people have requested Node plus P5, so I want to do that. I've made a bunch of videos about the Kinect and computer vision, and I want to do more of those. Some other P5.js and sound. I want to make a whole set of Git tutorials. And then I think I don't know why, video. So one thing that I want to do, I guess this isn't really, is I think what I want to try to tackle today is video in P5. So let me make a list, and you guys can chime in. I'm going to make a list here just for right now of how I'm thinking of approaching this. So what I want to look at is, I'm trying to decide if I use record. I'm going to do create capture first. I think the live video stuff is a little bit more interesting. Not more interesting, but I kind of like. So just basic create capture. I did these the other day, but the audio had crackles in it, so I'm going to redo them. Then I'm going to show how to use create capture to do a photo booth with snapshots. Then I want to examine looking at pixel array. So I'm in a pixel process. Then we'll do like a brightness mirror. And then we'll do like a painting, paint a portrait from live video. These are all the things I want to do. And then I'm trying to think of what else. The other thing that I like to demonstrate is how to make a like Muybridge style video history. You know, slit scan is an interesting thing to look at. How to make a slit scan. That could be good. So this is kind of what I have in mind. I would like to do all of these today. It's 10:30. I have till about noon, and then I'll take a break for a while, and I might come back this afternoon and do some more. So look at this list. Think about it. I'm going to look in the chat. Nobody's really said anything here. So the other thing I've got YouTube Live going and Twitch Live going. I don't know if that's kind of ridiculous. I was hoping maybe some people would find me with Twitch. But I don't see too many comments here. Let's see if anything's happening on Twitter. Oh, I have a lot of notifications because you can ask me questions there too. Interesting. Okay. Sorry, I was reading somebody wrote an interesting comment on Twitter, which is, I would prefer to back you on Patreon monthly than subject users to ads. So it's an interesting question. I've started, I put ads on the YouTube videos. I can't decide whether that's a good idea or not. You know, my kind of excuse for doing that is I want to closed caption everything for hearing impaired. And it costs, if I pay a service to do that, it costs about $20, $25 per video. And I was thinking, how do I put ads? And once each video gets to about $20 or $25, then I'll close caption it. You know, I honestly, like if this were, I would love to do this, more of it. And if it's I kind of do it in connection with my teaching at NYU. So on the one hand, I'm happy to just do this. But also maybe there is sort of a business model for doing this. I don't know. I feel very sheepish about this, but if anybody has any feedback about that, if the ads really bother you or don't bother you, let me know. Okay. Lauren covered slit scan on Cadenza. Oh, that's great to know. I guess maybe I'll do it also here. Okay, so I'm going to get started with this then, I think. And I'm going to do all of these. My preference right now is to use Sublime and run things locally. So let me get set up for that. Sorry. Let me make a folder called P5JS Video, and I'm going to give myself a little shortcut to that here. And let me make a, sorry, where am I? Let me just grab, this test sketch and put it in there and call it O1 create capture. And so I can save these for later. And I'm going to take this, and open it with Sublime, and move this back over. O1 create capture sketch. Okay, so we see that, and just so I see that something is there, get this set up. If I look at the HTML file, O1 create capture, get rid of this, and close that. And now I want to go to p5js_video, run my local server, and I don't need this. Local host, there we go. Create capture, there we go. Sublime, browser, Sublime, browser, Sublime, browser, terminal. I don't need that open. And there we go. Okay, everyone, I think I'm ready to check the chat one more time. And yes, so Patreon is something I am considering. Some people write, Paraglide writes, ads are okay with me. Other person writes, most people that are opinionated about ads probably run an ad blocker anyway. I'm used to the video and image processing features. Yeah, so some people are asking questions in the chat about the P5 editor. I don't want to get too lost in a discussion about that because I want to get started with this video tutorial. But I will say that one of the things that the Processing Foundation is actively working on right now is a web-based editor that can run in the browser. I think one of the tricky things about a JavaScript web creative coding environment is there are numerous ways you could develop. You could use something like Atom, you could use something like brackets, you could use something like CodePen. And so in creating a kind of beginner-friendly platform, I think having one that might be sort of geared towards education in that sense, having a web-based editor makes a lot of sense. But there is, but yeah. So anyway, that's all I want to kind of say about that. I hear some noise in the other room, but I won't worry about it. Okay, I'm back. Okay, here we go. So, can you guys hear that, by the way? It's a little distracting for me. There's people talking and playing music nearby. But I'll just keep going anyway. 33 people are watching. I better get started. Okay. Oh, that's distracting. Maybe you guys can't hear that. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to cycle the cameras. Hey everybody, I'm just going to mute myself for a second. I'm going to go see what that noise is. Nobody hears the other room. Okay. But I'm just going to be right back. Okay, I have discovered what it is for all of those of you who are interested. It's just, and actually it seems to have gone away, but it's Joe the trainer has an athletic training studio that's right next door to SFPC. And I think the music and the noise was coming from there. In between videos, I'll go and get myself like a workout or something. Okay, here we go. I should probably just meditate or something to reduce the level of kind of panicked uncertainty I have in my life. Okay, there's a camera. I'm ready to go. I'm gonna kind of close this a little bit, and I wanted to just briefly erase this. And I think this camera, by the way, is slightly, because this is level, the camera is slightly askew. I wonder if I could fix that. Probably shouldn't worry about it right now. Of course, well, look what you guys are watching. Oh no, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of this? There we go. Okay, never mind. Actually, let me focus this really quick. Just make sure the focus is good. You guys, this will entertain you. So here I am. Actually, that's pretty good, but let me just get it. This is like live stream focusing. You can see it's out of focus. I think that's good. I think I got it. Okay. Okay, I'm really going to get started now. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. And the audio is still working. And here we go. Hello, in this video I'm going to look at create capture in P5.js and how the create capture function allows you to get a live image from your webcam. So I want to talk briefly just about what the create capture function does technically behind the scenes before I start typing into the code and seeing the results. So let's come with me over here. Look, I'm over here now. Hello. So as you know, a P5, I don't know if you know this, but if you've watched any other videos, you do. P5 has these functions, setup and draw. Setup being the thing that runs at the beginning of a P5.js sketch. And the thing that you typically have in a P5.js sketch is a function called createCanvas. It's not necessarily required, which gets a width and a height. And what does that function do? It places a canvas in the browser window itself. So the goal for this video, by the end of this video, is to say, your laptop, which has like a webcam at the top, I want to see the image, from that webcam. I want to see that in the canvas. So the way that you can connect to the default camera of your computer, and anybody's computer who happens to be loading your sketch in their browser, is with the function create capture. So the create capture function, and then you pass it one argument, video. What the create capture function does is it creates a connection to, I think it's called in web language like user get media, something like that. But what it does behind the scenes is it actually creates a separate DOM element. DOM referring to document object model, this being the document, there being objects in the document. The one thing we created is a canvas. As you know, in P5, you can also create things like a paragraph with create P. You could create things like a slider with create slider. You could create button with create button. So you can make all these elements that live on the web page, and create capture, actually what it does is creates a video DOM element which contains the image from that camera. So on the one hand, this might be what you want. You want to have a canvas and a video element separate from each other. But in a sort of classic creative coding sense, whatever that means, you might just want to be doing some kind of animation or abstract visual art thingamabob based on what's in that video. So you don't actually want to see that DOM element, you just want to paint it to the canvas and mess with it on the canvas. So that's what I need to look at how to do with code. And we'll see in a second. But I think it's important to point out that create capture is actually part of the P5 DOM library and actually creates a separate element on the page. And so let's go look at that. Okay, so here I am back over here, and I've got a sketch. I'm working just in Sublime Text today, running a local server and looking at the results in the Chrome browser. If you don't know how to do that, I made a separate video that I will link to that shows how to get that set up going. But you can use any web editor thing of your choice to do all of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say create capture and pass in the argument video. So I'm adding that to my code. I'm going to go over to the browser and I'm going to hit refresh. And you can see now, there it is. The canvas is there and the capture is there. Now what is the resolution of this capture? Make it a little smaller. You can see that this capture looks bigger than the canvas. It's actually, I made my canvas 320 by 240. The video is 640 by 480. That only, I guess, happens to be whatever default resolution, the browser, the camera, who knows who's making that decision, but that's what you're getting. Now, if I wanted to change the size of this element, it's a DOM element, so I can use, for example, the P5 function size. But how do I do that? So what if I want to now manipulate, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. What if I want to manipulate the capture element itself? I need to store a reference to it in a variable. So what I'm going to do is add a variable to the top. I'll call it video. I will say video equals create capture. I could have called it anything, cam, capture, whatever. And I can now also say video.size 320 by 240. So now what I've done is I've created that connection, it made that DOM element, and I've sized it down. And you can see here. And you can see now I have on my web page, I have the canvas and the video. Hooray! So now we can start to do some more things. I said, what if I want to ultimately not see this separate image, but actually paint into the canvas so I can do other stuff on top of it? Well, one of the nice things about working in P5 is P5 has already set up the landscape of things for you so that this video DOM element can act just like any other image would act in P5. So for example, in Draw, if I just say, I didn't set up my settings correctly. If I just say image, my Sublime settings, I'll do that later. Video, I like to have 2 spaces for the indent. It's very important to me. My life feels very out of control if my indentation isn't working correctly the way that I like it. I'll take a deep breath and move on. Okay, so if I say image video.00, and I do that, and now I hit refresh, we can see there it is. So I've got Now I've got the actual video DOM element, and I have the canvas where I'm drawing the video onto the canvas. But you can see I can do things like now with the canvas, I can add other functions like tint. You know, I could make it very, let's see what happens if I get kind of pinkish. We can see here, oh, you know what, interesting. So a little bug happened. I'm going to fix this bug. And it's actually, there's already a GitHub issue file. So by the time you run this with your P5 in the future, this won't happen to you. I'm going to just fix it by enforcing the size here. But what happened is when I added tint, the pixels got manipulated, and suddenly it went back to 640 by 480, even though that shouldn't have happened. So this video is going to have a historical error in it, which will get fixed. But in my code, I was able to fix it by just enforcing the size that I'm drawing the image. So you can see that in the canvas, I can do various things to manipulate the image itself. And while I was altering the size, I might as well say I could do something like, let me make mouse X the width. And now you can see I have this video that I can kind of like shrink and make myself kind of like skinny or wider or a little bit skinnier. And you can see I'm not drawing the background, so I'm getting these weird trails. So anything that you can do with images, shapes, I could add translate, I could add rotate, I could spin it, I could shrink it, I could flip it. All of those types of things I can do with the video. And it's nice to have this DOM element as a reference of what the original video looks like. But if I didn't want to have that, one thing I'll show you is I could add video.hide. So the hide function hides a particular DOM element. And if I hit refresh, you can now see that the only thing is the canvas and the video. So that concludes what I originally set out as the goal, which was to be able to capture video from the camera and draw it into the canvas. However, I must alert you to something that will trip you up. I probably should have led with this and not finished with it. Notice how it didn't ask me for permission. It didn't say like, oh, can I have access to your camera? Is that okay? What you are doing, if you took this sketch and uploaded it to your website, potentially, if somebody came to your website, it could automatically turn on their camera. You could take pictures of them and save that to your server. So typically speaking, what the user is going to see is like, oh, can I have access to the camera? But some browsers, in particular the Chrome browser, will only actually let you do this if you are serving your website from what's known as HTTPS, the S being secure. So if you ever go to the address bar in your browser, it'll sometimes say HTTP and it'll sometimes say HTTPS. If you're like on your bank's website, I hope it says HTTPS because you need a level of encryption and security there. So depending on where you're uploading your thing, if you're just working locally on your own computer and making whatever and experimenting, it's always going to work. But if you're uploading it to your own website, you need to have HTTPS enabled. Some web servers might have this as a feature for you, like Heroku, I believe, if you're using that. That's a web service thing company. Others won't. And so you need to like purchase and get a certificate, and maybe I can make a video about that if I even knew how to do that. But one thing I'll point out that someone pointed to me recently is there is something called Let's Encrypt. Let's Encrypt is free, automated, and open. It's a new certificate authority, so that might be something you could look into if you need to resolve this issue in terms of where you're uploading. I do know, for example, though, that GitHub Pages, I believe, if you're using GitHub Pages as a way of hosting something, that I believe you can use HTTPS with. Anyway, but also you could just not use Chrome and it might work in a different browser, yada, yada, yada. This will all be irrelevant, and I'm going to have to dub the robots of the future will dub over me and explain this correctly, because this is all going to become totally not relevant anymore, probably a week from now, 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, etc. Okay, thanks for watching this video. In the next video, so I would say if you're looking for something to do, try to get this to work, mess around, manipulate the video. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to save snapshots over time from a live source. Okay, how was that, everybody? I'm going to look at the chat for a second. Somebody asks, does Create Capture work on mobile devices? I think it does on Android, but I do not think it does on iOS. So I think Create Capture will work on Android in the browser. Again, the HTTPS thing is an issue because I think the Android browser is like Chrome-based, but pretty sure it does not work in iOS, and you probably would need some extra set of hooks to get the camera on iOS. Okay. Yeah, interestingly enough, someone makes the comment, this is certainly one of the scenarios where doing this in P5 is actually quite a bit simpler than in the processing desktop environment. The one thing you'll run into is, as I show you the pixel processing stuff, it's a lot slower in JavaScript than in processing. So image processing, iterating over all the pixels of an image is a very expensive thing to do, computationally expensive thing to do, and it runs pretty slow in JavaScript, so you got to really work with low resolution images. Okay, and let's see if anyone's asking anything on Twitch. Nope. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go on to my next topic. I'm going to take a break for a second and drink a little of this coffee that I have over here. I shouldn't be allowed to drink coffee. It's been established, but I'm going to anyway. I think you could probably hear my slurping and swallowing. By the way, it's a little bit strange just being in a room talking to yourself, even though I know there are people watching and I'm making video tutorials and people seem to like them, although I'm always unsure about that. It's weird. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is let me close this. Let me save. Let me make a new copy of this. And I'm going to call it O2 Photo Booth. So the next thing, for those of you who might just be tuning in, this is my list of stuff to do. I did basic create capture. The next thing I'm going to do is show how to make, I know photo booth, I don't know if that's the right term because I'm not going to make a whole photo booth here, but I'm going to look at how you can add an HTML5 button, and every time you press the button, you save a snapshot from the video, and maybe you save a whole bunch of them in an array, that sort of thing. And that will actually lead to this, Muybridge style thing. Maybe I'll move that up, but we'll see. Yeah, I wonder if I might add that into this video if I'm feeling ambitious. So let me close this sketch, go over here, and oh, you know what I'm going to do? The other thing I'm going to do, everyone, is I'm going to fix, let me just mention this. I made a whole video about this the other day. P5, so I'm going to fix something in the P5 library secretly behind the scenes, but this will get fixed eventually in the actual P5 library. This was a GitHub issue I filed and made a whole video about, and it needs to be this in line 1679 of P5 DOM. So if I go in here, and I go all the way down. I'm just going to fix something. I think it's here. Whoops. And the other thing I said I wanted to do is in the preferences. So how does anybody know in Sublime how I set it to, let's look at this for a second, indentation. Oh, it translate tabs to spaces true, and tab size 2, because that's I want spaces. Is there another 4 anywhere? Margin 4. No, I think that must have done it. So now, if I do this, yes. Yes, okay, my indentation is now okay. And I'm going to do this. And I'll start from this. There we go. This can be maybe a little bit smaller over here because I'm going to need this to be a little bit wider. OK, I think I'm ready for the next video. I'm going to check the chat. Yes, someone says I would appreciate a small tutorial about Git. Oh, careful what you wish for. I plan on making a very large tutorial about Git. I'm hoping to do that next week, actually. I want to get couple more lights in here just to make the setup a little bit better because I feel like this is the Git tutorials are kind of important. Not that none of the important, but I want to have them. I want them to sort of last for a while and kind of look good and be good. So I'm going to do those next week, I think, once I get a little bit better at this setup in here. Let me just check here. Okay, so I'm gonna erase this. I'm gonna do, oh, it's 11 o'clock. I've got about another hour. See how much more I can get done in the next hour. Those of you who are staying with me are very kind. Keeps me motivated to see stuff in the chat. And let me just cycle the cameras. Little ritual thing that I do. And here we go. Oh, the one thing I need to do is name that video I just made. So that one I'm going to call O1 Create Capture. Okay. And now, here we go. I need a tissue. That's one thing I need is Kleenex in this room I don't have. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I'm thinking. Do I have my, where did I put my whiteboard marker? Oh, here it is over here. I need to have that in my hand. Okay. Hello. In this video, I'm going to look at how, if you have a live capture, if you have a live capture coming in from a camera, that was, no one wants to see me do that too much. Okay, let's start over. Hello. In this video, I'm going to look at how, if you have a live capture coming in from a camera into a web page, how you can add a button to that page and save snapshots over time, a photo booth-like kind of sketch. And I'm using P5.js. So this is where I'm starting. I have a simple P5 example, which has a canvas, which is here. It has a video DOM element over here. The DOM element is grabbing the image from the camera, and then I'm drawing it into the canvas. So let's go over to the code, and I've got the code here. You can see that. Create capture video, change the size to 320 by 240, and draw that onto the canvas. So first thing I want to do is just stop drawing it onto the canvas. And we can see this is what I've got now. And I want to add a button to the page. So I'm going to say create button, snap. And if I refresh it, you can see there's that button. We make this a little bit bigger, and you can see there's that button, snap. So the idea here is that I want is whenever I hit the button, I want that image to be saved and populated into the canvas. So how do we do that? So the first thing I need to do is bind some sort of event to the pressing of this button. And the way that that's done in P5 is with, well, first of all, once again, if I want to do anything with that button, I now need a variable to keep track of that button over time. So I'm going to add a variable called button at the top, and I'm going to say button equals create button. And then I will say button dot mouse pressed, and I'll call this take snap. So what goes in here is the name of a function that I want to execute when I press the mouse on that button. And this is P5 specific. There are lots of ways in JavaScript with other frameworks and native JavaScript and jQuery to do this same sort of thing. But in P5 has a nice simple hook for binding an event to the press of the mouse, which is naming a function that goes into the mouse press function that's called on the button object itself. So once I've done that, it's now my job to write a function called take snap. And in that function, what could I do? I could take exactly this line of code that just draws what is currently in the video to the canvas. So if I save this and I go back and run this again, we should see now that the video is playing, the video is capturing. There's nothing in the canvas, but you can see that as soon as I hit that button, I get the current image into the canvas. And now I can do this, and you can see I can kind of create a little like stop motion dance animation. Somebody can make a GIF out of this if they want. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I got lost in my own little world there for a second. Let me turn off the video and just dance the night away, even though it's 11 o'clock in the morning, which is not really the morning. I digress. So let's try to make this, though, a little bit more interesting here, which is that I didn't really save anything. I don't know what it means to save anything. Certainly I could like download the image to the computer. We could add that actually. That could be a feature we could add. But what I think might be interesting to look at is how might I save those images over time. So since I have this whiteboard over here, I feel obligated to use it. Let's think about this for a second. I need to sort of map this out for myself. So we have the canvas. We have the video. And the only thing that I'm doing is at particular moments in time, I'm drawing, the image from the video to the canvas. But what if I could do something in the interim over here? And the thing that I want to do is actually call the function get. So get is a function that maybe I'll get to a little more later, which is a way of grabbing pixels from the image itself. But if I call get with no arguments, what it does is it grabs an entire copy of that image. So what if I had an array, I called it history, so a blank array like this, and every time I press a button, I add a copy of the image to that array. So I'm actually storing image after image after image whenever that button is pressed. That way, I could potentially, in my canvas, I could see a whole bunch of images, snapshots over time. So let's take a look at how we might do that. Okay, so let's go back to the code. What are some things I want to add? The first thing I want to add, and audio is still working, is a variable called history, which will just be an array. So an empty array. And now I said instead of right here just drawing the image to the screen when the button is pressed, what I want to do instead is say something like this: history.push video. Push being a function, history is an array, video is the video DOM element, push being a function that adds something to that array. So I want to add the video DOM element. Add the video DOM element every time I press the button. Only that's not what I want to do. So this looks kind of right, like, oh, every time I press the button, add the image from the video to the array. But the variable video is not the image. It's the entirety of that DOM element live capture stream thing itself. So that's not what I want in the array. What I want is just a copy of that image. So I need to use that get function. So if I come back over here and I say video.get, this is what I want. So I can run this right now. Oh, history.push is not a function. Why is that not a function? Yes, it is. Is history some other variable name for something? Let's call this snapshots. Is something else called history in the world of JavaScript? Yeah. That's strange. Somebody will tell me what that was. So sometimes if you get that error, this is, by the way, I made a video about namespacing, link to it now, but something you can walk into by accident, which apparently I just did in JavaScript, especially working with P5, is I'm making up all these global variables, and there's a lot of default stuff. Yeah, history. Browser history. I'm sure there's a global variable that just exists in web browsers called history that has to do with the browser history, and I just messed up by overriding that. So watch out, danger, danger, don't do that. So I'll call it snapshots. And what I want to do now is we can look at here, snapshots is an empty array. So this is the Chrome Developer Console. I recently made a video about how to use that. And now if I hit snap a couple times, and look at snapshots again, you can see that now it has an array with a bunch of P5 images in it. And there's more stuff with these P5 images that we can kind of look into, the width and the height and all of that, but let's not worry about that right now. Now, how can I do something with these images? Well, one thing I could do, let's do one thing with it. Let's make the canvas wider. And in draw, let's add a loop that says, for var I equals 0, I is less than snapshots.length, I plus plus, let's draw image snapshots index I. Let's draw all of those images. So this is going to, I don't know what this is really going to accomplish, but let's run this. And you can see now it's only showing the last one. Why is it? I did a loop to draw every single one. It's only showing the last one. Well, it's drawing them all, but it's drawing them all on top of each other. So one thing I could do that would be kind of interesting, I have no idea if this is going to work, is I could add some alpha. So look at that. Now you can see that it's drawing them all, and I'm getting a nice little ghost averaging thing. because I'm tinting them as I'm drawing them. Let's draw them next to each other. So one thing I might want to do is draw them a lot smaller. Like maybe I'll just draw them at 80 by 60. And maybe I'll actually make that a variable. 80 and 60. And use those variables. And I'll say, let me have an x and a y. So what I'm doing here is I want to draw each image at a particular x and a y as I'm looping through the array. The first one at 0, 0. The second one at x equals x plus w. So now what you would see is you can see here that each one is drawing next to each other. Now when it gets to the edge of the window, which is over here, maybe what I wanted to do, if x is greater than w, then I want to reset x back to 0 and have y go up by h. So I'm just making a little algorithm inside this loop that no matter how many images there are, they're each being drawn. X is moving over. When x gets to the end, x goes back to 0 and y goes down. So now I can run this, and we should see, here's the video down here, and I can, ooh, what happened there? If x is greater than w, that's not correct. If x is greater than the width of the canvas, not w, which is just 1 over, so that's no good. So let's run this again, and then you can see my little kind of stop motion Muybridge sequence. Now, incidentally, it's kind of funny that I'm doing this by like pressing the button. Because I could just as easily do this. So anyway, so you get the idea here. There's a lot of possibilities. I have this whole array. I can mix and match them. I could create a puzzle, could chop it up. I mean, my mind is bursting with ideas, and I hope yours is as well. And you can see also like that I don't know if you can see this in this recording of the video, but the program's running a bit slower now. I have this big array of images. But I wanted to do one more thing. What I want to do, this is a little bit insane. You should just stop watching this now, but I want to see if I can make these be in motion. So I want to see just sort of like the last however many images, and I want them all to be on a delay and moving. Let's just see if we can do this. I'm 10 minutes into this video. You can think of this as completing the lesson, but let's just see if we can make this happen. So let's think about this for a second. What I might want to do is first, what happens if I just put this in draw itself? Okay, so I'm saying push video.get. And let's run this for a second and count it. And I'm going to run this for a second. Oh, it complained. So one thing that happened is that the video, a draw happens immediately, but the video wasn't actually ready just yet. So I need, sad, sad world we live in. What I need is an event. I wonder if I can add an event here called ready. And I make a variable called go equals false. And now I'm going to set go. So I think there should be a callback to create. I don't know if this exists in P5. We're about to find out. There should be, most of these functions in JavaScript have a callback, like create the capture. And but it's not, well, I need to know when you're done creating it so I could use it. And so I pass a callback called ready, and I'm just going to set a Boolean variable equal to true. So I can say only if go, then start capturing those snapshots. And I can take this out here as I've gotten rid of the button. And I'm going to have to, we don't need this button anymore. Yeah, that worked. So you can see what's happening here. So now let me pause this. Let me say no loop. So I need to do something ridiculous, which is count this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times 4. There are 40. So I need an array with 40. So I only want to, what I want to do is actually, I want to change and have a counter. So I want to create a counter because I only want to have 40 images at a time. So what I want to do is add a counter. So instead of just always adding an image to the array, what I want to say is snapshots index counter equals video.get. So this is going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to add images to that array. I'm going to run this again. Counter equals 0. Why didn't that work? Somebody, let's see what this error is. Sketch.4, I have a syntax error. Oh, int. boy, my mind is in Java land. Var should be the name of the variable. So I'm going to do this. And we can see, so it's working, but I didn't increase the counter. So I need to say counter plus plus. And now you can see this is working. Now what I can do is say, aha, when counter gets to 40, go back to 0. So now I can say if counter equals 40, because there's only 40 total, counter should go back to 0. OK, so now this is a good time to do jumping jacks. I have to do them over here, right? You can see my trail of jumping jacks is happening up here. They're maybe like a second spaced apart. You can see it's still doing it. Do I still have that tint in there? That's funny, I still have the tint. Let's get rid of that and refresh. I forgot that I had that the whole time. No wonder this is what I expected it to look like. I'll do some jumping jacks. So we can see now, I don't know why the bottom, maybe I did my math wrong. Maybe they're 43. Did I get the math wrong there? Counter equals 43. Let's try that. I obviously could do some actual correct math. There we go. So now you can see I've got this history of the last 43 images, always continuously there. But I want to do something a little bit weird. So this is pretty good, and I think you could probably make some creative experiments with this and make it bigger or smaller or whatever. And I'm just off the deep end here, but I'm only at 15 minutes, so this is fine. So let's think about how to make this. Notice that I'm always just drawing the images 0 through to 43. And let's make that, I don't know why that's the value. Let's make this total equal 40. Let's make that a variable. I swear I don't understand my math here, but I'm just going to go with it. So one thing I want to do is that in addition to drawing the images, I want to offset them. This is going to seem weird, but let me just do this, and maybe it's going to make sense. It's making sense in my head right now, because I think I've done this before many years ago. But I'm going to, what if I said I plus frame count? So in other words, I want the 0 image to be here, then the 0 image to be there, then the 0 image to be there every frame. But as soon as we get past 43, I need to use the modulus operation. Boy, modulus might not be familiar to some of you. I believe I made a video only about modulus at one point. And so let's make this a separate variable, just so we can kind of discuss what's going on here. Pretty sure this is going to work. So let me run this. See if this does what I expect. Oop. I have an error. Oh, so I must have gone, so first of all, I can only do this once counter has got, I need 40 images first to start with. So this is only going to work once, 43 or whatever, once I have the total amount. So this, I want to think of a really simple way to approach this. I'm just going to say if, oh, you know what, never mind. This is silly. All I need to do is say snapshots.length, because I can just do this based on how many elements are currently in the array. So now you can see that, that's what I was hoping for. OK, so you can see that everything's moving. Now, why did this work? So this is a pretty standard kind of trope, I would say, in kind of creative coding. Looking at this video and seeing many copies of it on a slight delay, and we can make that delay bigger, smaller. We could kind of cycle it around. I made a project 10 years ago that does exactly this. I think I called it time frame. And I just have to do some weird Vogue dancing, I think, to see what this looks like. I don't know if this video is still recording. OK. But let's try to think about why this is working for a second. And again, I don't know if anyone's still watching this video 20 minutes in, but I hope that you make some creative projects with this. You might run into an issue, by the way, if you don't have that P5JS bug fixed, but I can help you with that. But let's think about this. So remember, this is the array. And let's just pretend the array has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things in it. And the animation looks something like this. That was supposed to be me with one arm. So you can see an animation of a dial going like this. So this is the canvas. And this is continuously also shifting and getting new elements in it. But what's happening is, so the actual current frame is going in one at a time. So without that strange modulus, I'm really trying to make this make sense. I don't know that this is the best drawing, but without that modulus, what I was seeing here is just literally the array copied into the window. So we see these static images that are getting updated every once in a while. But if what I'm doing is actually the 0 element of the array gets drawn here, then it gets drawn here, then it gets drawn here, then it gets drawn here, you're actually seeing, and the 1 element is also moving, you're actually seeing that animation that's in the array play out. Because each spot on the screen that's static is seeing different elements from the array, but the array is also being updated by the current elements from the camera. And so how is that working? Basically, what I want, this is going to, now I know how to make sense of this. Right? I'm going to put the index values here. So first the index values go like this. Then the next time, the index values go like this. And then the next time, oops. I only have 4 here. I messed up. But you get the idea. They go like this. So then the next time, it's 3, 4, 0, 1, 2. So those are cycling. So how do you do that? If you have that loop, this is I. So, okay, sorry, this is I, 0, 1, 2, 3. This is I plus frame count, which would be 0, 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, then 2, 3, 4, 5, then 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So this is I plus frame count. The modulus operation, if I was saying this, I'm using my hand. Terrible. I have to go wash my hands in a second. If I am saying now I plus frame count modulus 4, the modulus operation is like division, but not like division. It's the remainder of division. So if I say, for example, 3 modulus 4, 3 modulus 4 is, 3 divided by 4 is 0, remainder 1. 4 divided by 4 is 1, remainder 0. 5 divided by 4, 0 divided by 3, 3 divided by 4 is 0, remainder 3. 5 modulus 4 is 1, remainder 1. 6 divided by 4 is 1, remainder 2. So what the modulus operation does is it cycles everything back to keep everything within the original range of the array. Boy, I gotta this video was going so well till I went off and did this, but hopefully you found this interesting. I'm gonna publish the code with this as I upload this video, and I hope that you guys will make some experiments with this particular idea and share them so I can see what you made. Okay, I'm gonna hit stop now. I gotta come back to that someday I should just do this again, it'll make more sense, but I did my best. Okay. So somebody's saying the first 3 rows had 11 images. 1 was off the right side. Thank you very much. Okay, I see there's, I'm just looking at the comments here. And I'm going to look on Twitch. This is live. It is. Okay, yeah, so I think there's some new people finding this stream on Twitch, which was sort of maybe 1 or 2 people. This is live, but I'm tending not to look at the chat except for at particular moments because ultimately I'm going to record these and upload them to YouTube as standalone videos. Okay, so let me look back here. This was so I actually ended up doing this in this particular video. I kind of want to do that over again and separate that out and not go so far off into this wilderness here but can you guys give me a little feedback? Was that kind of a total disaster or it kind of made sense trying to explain how the array thing worked? I don't know. I definitely think if I did it again, I have a better sense of how to make it make sense. But okay, so the next thing I would start doing would be the pixel array stuff. Oh yeah, so I guess I confirm that it's live, that I'm reading the chat and responding to it. Although there is a delay, so I think you're probably seeing this about 20 seconds after I'm actually doing it, so sometimes the chat is a little bit behind. Oh, I need to plug this computer in. Can you apply the Chroma key? So someone asked, can you apply the Chroma key in real time? So I'm actually, as you can see, I'm recording this. You can see that I'm recording this video from a camera over there. This is the camera that's actually recording. That's Chroma keying the desktop of my laptop with me. But because I'm using the webcam from my laptop, you're also seeing another view, which is this one. Now, I think the question asked, could you use P5 to live Chroma key the video? And the answer is absolutely yes. And this is actually part of the next topic I want to explore, which is how to manipulate the pixels. And so you could do it manually by manipulating the pixels, and if the pixel is green, draw a different pixel. But there is a JavaScript library that allows you to do this called seriously.js. And you can see that, so you can see this is doing live chroma keying and various effects of a particular video. And you can see that's the green screen thing that it's chroma keying. Okay, so you could look into using that, and that would be a great, why not add that? Seriously.js with P5. Let's see if we can make that a topic. Okay, what time is it? 11:20. Okay, so somebody's asking, and I'm gonna just take a minute to answer some of the questions of people arriving. So so two things. One is saying, could you show Sublime Text again? So let me do that. So first of all, the code for all of these videos sometimes takes me a little while. What happens with these videos after I finish is later this afternoon or this evening, I will upload them as standalone videos to my YouTube channel, and then in the description, I usually put a link to the source code that goes with the video. So you'll be able to find all of this later. If the source code is missing, all you need to do is type in the video's comments. It's missing, it reminds me, then I post it. And if you're looking for what that repo is, github.com/Schiffman. Video-lesson-materials. So this is the URL. You can see it up here. And under code P5.js, you can see these are like code examples that have gone along with all these other videos that I've previously made. Now, the other question has been asked on Twitch. I came in a little after you started. Could you briefly retouch what P5.js is? Oh my God. Could you talk about what P5.js is and what it accomplishes? So very briefly, P5.js is a JavaScript library. All the things that I'm showing you, you could do without P5.js, but P5.js has a lot of functionality built into it to make drawing to an HTML5 canvas a little bit easier, to make connecting to live video streams a little easier, to add buttons and interface elements a little bit easier. Easier might be the wrong word, but it's just a JavaScript library for what I would call loosely creative coding to be able to kind of sketch and play around and make kind of experiments in a web browser. There's a lot more to it in the history of it, and there's something called processing. I encourage you to go to p5js.org to learn a little bit more. Okay. So the next topic I want to explore, I have to think about the order of this. So I think what I want to do is do a video just about the pixel array and manipulating the pixels of an image of a P5.js sketch using the live video. Let's make an example before I do the tutorial just to get a sense that this is actually working. So I'm going to do a little prep now, even though, well, I like having this here. It's kind of crazy. I can do this is kind of interesting to see. Okay, I'm going to stop playing with this though. I'm going to close this sketch. And I'm going to make a copy of it. Actually, let me start with make a copy of it. And whoops, P5.js video. Call this 03 pixels. So, and then I want to close this. 03 pixels. Let's get rid of all this. And let's go down here. OK. So what I want to do, sorry, everybody. What I want to do is just test to see that pixel stuff is working in P5. So I'm going to call load pixels. Camera's going to go off in a second. I'll fix it. I'm going to call update pixels. So right now what I'm doing is I'm making the example that I will then make a tutorial about, just to like get my head in the game here and figure out, make sure this stuff works. So I'm going to say x equals 0, x is less than width, x plus plus. So I'm doing a nested loop to look at every single pixel, and I'm going to say pixels index I equals, so I'm doing something here. Bear with me for a second. The pixels in P5 and HTML5 canvas work differently than they do in processing. So if you're coming from processing, if you're not coming from anything, you won't care that this is different because it'll all be new to you. And let's see if this actually works. Oops, I lost Chrome. Oops, that's the wrong thing. That's terminal. Where's Chrome? Did I close it? No. Oh. Localhost. Pixels. Error. I is not defined. Yeah, no kidding, I is not defined. X plus y times width. OK, did something wrong. Right, of course. And then times 4. See, I'm forgetting this stuff because it works differently in P5. There we go. Whoops. Another thing is pixel density 1. OK. It'll give me that annoying warning. And I'm going to now try this. See how the frame rate is. All right, promising. OK, so this is the first thing that I want to explore, which is just how to manipulate and play with the pixel array in P5. And then what I'll do is actually get the pixels from I'll put the capture next to it and get the pixels from capture and do more with that sort of thing. So let's see. Somebody is telling me to check out William Keir. OK. And yeah. Yeah, I like how you guys see my errors before I see them. It's very fun. OK, so I'm going to now in the chat, let me know how the whiteboard is. You can read it and see it. It's not the best lighting, but it's like legible and all that. OK. So, because I'm going to erase this now. And so this video is going to just be about the pixel array in P5.js, which is also about the pixel array in HTML5 canvas. And I'm going to start by diagramming out how it works, and then I'm going to write some code for it, and then I will transition that into the next video, which looks at actually reading the pixels from the camera itself. It's fine, it's fine. Thank you, everybody. OK. Here we go. Guacamole, sayonara, chicken. I don't know what, I'm just saying words now. OK. All right. I'm going to drink a little coffee. I have to announce that because if I don't, you guys are going to wonder, why do I walk off camera and make weird slurping sounds? Because I feel like the mic must pick that up. Okay, here we go. So let me just do something here. Background 51. Oops, nope. Okay. Great. Okay. Here we go. Oh, you know what I want to check actually is I want to just check. Ooh, low battery. So this is not good. I need to. This one has 2 bars, so I think that one's fine. I want to replace the batteries, just so you guys know what I'm going to replace the battery on this because I really would hate for the battery to die in the middle of making the video. So I'm going to be, I'm about to mute myself and get new batteries. Be right back. Actually, I haven't muted myself yet. I have to find the batteries. I had them out in a specific spot. I don't know what happened to them. Oh, here they are, thank goodness. I'm about to take the batteries out. I don't know if that's going to, I'm going to hit mute, and hopefully you won't suddenly get weird like noise, but maybe turn your volume down for a second so your headphones don't pop if anything weird happens. I'll be back in 30 seconds. Okay, I am back. I think I'm back, and the batteries are replaced. So we aren't in danger of running out of battery. Okay. All I can think about now is all the weird GIFs I'm going to make of myself later. I have to admit, like, somebody made one for me, and then I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to go see if I can make one myself. And now I want to pretend that other people are making them, but really it's just me making them. Because I'm the most vain person broadcasting creative coding tutorials on YouTube and Twitch. Okay, just checking, make sure everything's okay. The audio looks like it's still fine. Somebody tell me if it's not. It does release a fire hose of static. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. You know what I should do is I should mute my control panel. Oh, the other thing I really need to do is I need to get a soundboard in here because I would like to be able to have some music, get some like sound audio from the computer, you know, have some intro music I'm thinking about using. I'm totally serious here. So if anybody has any ideas, if like a simple little mixing board I can get or something, send me a tweet. Good way to do that with, I'm using Wirecast in particular. Okay. Oh, you can't hear me right now. But I think that's from earlier. Okay, you guys can hear me now, right? So say, I'm clapping, say I can hear you clapping. Somebody say I can hear you clapping. And I'll wait. Yes, exactly like Reading Rainbow, but the coding rainbow. I actually have a friend in LA who is a music composer for television and film. And this reminds me I need to send him an email to ask he was going to help make a song. You can hear me clapping. Okay, so I'm going to go and make this video. And I'm going to minimize this. I'm not looking at the chat now. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to cycle these cameras. And I'm going to make a video about how the pixel array works in P5. Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. I don't know what to say at the beginning of these videos. I always just say, hello, in this video I will. But that's what I'm going to say at this one. But I'm not going to include that in this video. Okay. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I need to name that one that I just made. So the one that I just made was O2 photo history. Okay, so I named that. Now I can close this. This one will be a pixel array. In this video, and this is why I need the theme music. Hello and welcome to another video tutorial, right? Hello, today, right now, this very moment, I'm going to talk about the pixel array. Pixel array in P5.js, which is really I'm talking about the pixel array in HTML5 canvas, meaning there is a canvas in a browser. I am programming what's going to be on that canvas in JavaScript, and I want to know how do I access each individual pixel of the canvas, and how do I manipulate and change the color of each individual pixel for whatever purposes my mind can imagine. And this will lead to how to get live images from a camera, load images from some API or from a file, and manipulate the pixels of some other image from some other source. So that I'll get to in the next video, but right now I just want to look at how does the pixel array work. So let's come over here to the whiteboard for a second and kind of discuss what's at play here. So here is what I'm calling the canvas. So canvas, image, whatever you want to think about it, an image on a computer is a rectangular thing, which is essentially a grid of pixels. So we can make a sort of simplified, think of a simplified low resolution, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like this has a width of 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a height of 5. So I now have an image that's 6 by 5, meaning there are 30 pixels total, or 6 times 5. I hope I did the math right. Okay, so in order to access these, now P5 has functions called get and set. And these functions are useful. Get or set, you can pass an x and a y, the numbers being starting with 0. So the x values go from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you could say get pixel 4, comma 2, which would be this pixel right over here. So you can use those functions, and I might in some of the examples, but I want to look at a different way of accessing the pixels, which is arguably going to at least be the speediest and allow for the most possibilities. I don't know if that's entirely true, but let's just take that for now. And so what that is what I'm referring to is something called the pixels array. So behind the scenes in P5, there's a very long array with lots of numbers in it. Those numbers correspond to all of the colors in this canvas. So the question that we have to figure out is, if I want to change the color for this particular pixel, how do I find where in this array to do that? And so to do that, we need to do a little bit of math. Because this is just a linear list, one-dimensional list array, but the image we'll think of as this two-dimensional thing. So how do we go back and forth between the two of them? Now, this is not some unique problem. It happens in any computer graphics environment, but there is something different, at least if you've used processing before, just to take that as an example. The way that the pixels work in P5.js, HTML5 canvas, is quite different than in processing. It's quite similar, but there's a big sort of major fundamental difference. And you will see that as I go through this. So let's look at this now. So let's just start. Let me start by telling you that the pixels in the array, if this is the array, right, I'm going to give myself a bunch of spots here. The pixels start like this pixel, the very first thing, index 0 in the array, refers to this particular pixel here. But it doesn't refer to the entire pixel, it just refers to the red value of that pixel, some number between 0 and 255. The second element, index number 1 in the array, refers to the green value for that particular pixel. The third element, or index number 2, refers to the blue value. And the fourth element, or index number 3, refers to the alpha value. So it takes 4 spots of the array for 1 pixel. Now remember I said there are 60 pixels. That means how long is this array? 6 times 4. The length of the array is 240. So for an image that is 6 by 4 that has, 6 by 5 that has 60 pixels, the array itself has 4 times that many spots because there's a red, green, blue, and alpha value for each spot, meaning the length of the array is 240. Okay, so that we've established. Now still, so you can think about this is, this pixel starts at spot 0. this pixel starts at spot, and I should stop saying spot, I should say index, starts at index 4, this one at index 8, this one at index 12, this one at index 16. So this is how each pixel's color values in the array are separated by 4 index values. So that's the first thing to establish. Now, let's not think about that for a second, and let's just think, so that we've established. Now I'm going to erase this and back up again for a second. Let's say I want to just, though, number the pixels like this. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and this is our important one, 16, 17, 16. So one thing that you'll notice here, if I'm numbering the pixels this way, is that the first row is 0 through 5. The second row is 0 through 5 plus 6, right? 0 plus 6 is 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. 1 plus 6 is 7. 7 plus 6 is 13. So if I know the x, y coordinate on the screen, something like the coordinate 4 times 2, I can get that number 16 by saying x plus y times width. Or 4 plus 2 times 6, or 4 plus 12, which equals 16. So this is the formula for getting the number pixel it is on the screen. Now, then I have to say, where is it in the array? Remember, the array actually went 0, 4, 8, 12, whoa. Right, yeah, 0, 4, 8, 12, 16. So then all I need to do is multiply this by 4. So the way that I can find where the color values for a given pixel are in the array is the x value, the x coordinate plus the y coordinate times the width, and this whole thing times 4. Woof. So you might need to diagram this out yourself, get a piece of graph paper, review it a few times, but ultimately this formula, you can just memorize it. You're going to see it in almost every example I make right now. So let's go back to the code itself. And I got to wake up my computer. Wake up, computer. And now I can go to my code. So now, all I want to do first is deal with the pixels of the canvas itself. One thing you have to do if you're going to deal with the pixels of the canvas is alert P5, JavaScript, the browser. I don't know who we're talking to here, but you've got to tell somebody, hey, I want to work with the pixels. So the way to do that is by saying load pixels. And I'm going to put this in draw. So the first thing I need to do is say load pixels. Now I can do anything I want. I can say pixels index 365, equals 255. Now, I don't know what this is going to do. And then, if I ever change the pixels, I need to say, hey, I'm done changing the pixels. Let me now say update pixels. So I have messed with the pixel array. And if I went back and I loaded it, we should see some pixel got some value somewhere. The truth of the matter is I'm not going to be able to find that pixel. I have no idea 365 was that the red part, the green part, the alpha part. So ultimately, I'm not going to see anything. So let's be a bit more methodical about this. Let's try to change just the first pixel in the top left corner. So we know that's the red value, green value, blue value. We need a red value, a green value, a blue value, and an alpha. Those should be the first 4. So that top left pixel should be white. Let's zoom all the way in there. You can see that. Look at that. Do you see that white pixel up there in the top left? Are we sure about that? Let's move it over. Let's say 4, 5, 6, 7. You can see it moved over, right? Can you see that pixel I changed? A little bit moved over, right? Are we really sure about this? And you know what I could do actually? Why am I even bothering? I could just say, oh no, I have to say load pixel update. I could make this 0, refresh. Look at it. Now I got my pink pixel. We made a pink pixel with this giant mouse pointer pointing to it. Today is a beautiful moment, right? Because if you know how to individually address every single pixel in a canvas, there is nothing you can't possibly draw. You're mad. The world is now your oyster. I mean, you want to have a 3D library for doing all that kind of stuff. Probably you're not going to do it by pixel, but there's a lot of possibilities this opens up. So we see the basics at play here. But what I want to do is now let me look at how I might actually address every single pixel. So how might I do that? So, if you're watching this video, hopefully you're aware of the idea of something called a for loop. And we can see this particular for loop is a loop that's saying for every x, have x go from, have a variable called x, and have x cycle 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what do I want to do for every x? I want to actually, maybe I want to do it the reverse. I want to say like for the first row, which is y, do every x. Then for the second one, do every x. Then for the third one, do every x. So I need a loop that's going through the y's as well. And this is what's known as a nested loop. You may have seen this in other things. So if I say this, and I add another bracket, and then I need to indent these a little bit, we can now look at this. And we can say, aha, this is a loop that's saying for every y value. Start at y value 0, go through all the x's. Now have y equal 1, go through all the x's. Now have y equal 2, go through all the x's. So this nested loop has the property of hitting every single x and y in the window. So now we should be able to apply our formula. Var index equals, do we remember this? X plus y times width times 4. X plus y times width, this whole thing, times 4. And now I should be able to take this and put this here, indent it properly, and say index plus 1. Right, the index, that value is the red value of every pixel. 1 is the green, the next one is the blue, the next one is the alpha. So index plus, plus 2, index plus 3. And you know, I might just for like symmetry here add the plus 0 there. I don't know if that's necessary, but you can see this is the chunk I need. The index is the start of the pixel, and there are 4 values associated with the pixel. Now, there's something that's going to happen which is going to cause this not to work, which I will get to in a second. But this is essentially the right code. I missed a small little piece only because I'm using a Retina laptop, which I'll get to in a second. So if I hit refresh here, we can say, weird. It worked, but I didn't get the whole canvas. Like I got this like stripe of pink across the top. So unfortunately, we live in a world now, or fortunately, where we have these like HDPI, high definition display, high pixel density. So Mac Retina displays, other types of high density displays actually have like 4 pixels for every quote unquote pixel to make things finer and more higher resolution. And so this is actually what you're seeing here is a view of a high density display. And so one thing I want to do just in P5, I could get into this and I could draw the pixels at higher density to do all sorts of stuff. But something I could do in P5 just to like turn this problem off is say pixel density 1. So what I'm saying that is like, I don't care what kind of display the user is on. I want the canvas to be 1 pixel per pixel kind of regular density display as they were many years ago in olden times. So if I do that, we should see, there we go. And you know, it's giving me some sort of like warning that image smoothing enabled, it's changed something, and we can kind of ignore that in the console. But you can see I have now essentially written the code for the background function, right? The P5 background function, you know, does exactly this. You give it a color like 255, 0, 255, and it fills the entire background with those pixels. But I can do all sorts of things now. Like I could say X, right, and Y. I don't know what this is going to do. And I could run this. You can see now I have this kind of like gradient, right? Because the amount of red increases as the pixels move to the right. The amount of blue increases as the pixels move down. It mixes in the center. I could then also say like, make the green value a random value. And now we've got this like snowy rainbow noise. The rainbow, yay. Whenever something happens that's rainbow-like it makes me happy and I feel glad about it. So this really concludes this particular video. I would say to you, try to get this set up. See what kind of magic pixel wonderland you can make for yourself. And what I'm going to do in the next video is take this concept and actually not just make up pixel colors out of thin air, but actually pull pixels from an image, this being a video source, and manipulate them or draw something else based on those colors. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was 14 minutes and 46 seconds long. And share with me in the comments if you make something and post it somewhere. I would love to see what it is. OK, everyone. That was another video. I'm wondering, I think I actually unfortunately have to take a break now. So there are some, I'm going to look at some of the questions now. People have posted interesting questions. Boy, there's a lot of chat going on here. I'm not sure. OK. Hello. So someone says it's a bit daunting. It appears that you need to know JavaScript inside out as well as processing to do all these cool features. You're right in the sense that what I'm doing right now is kind of 15, 20 tutorials in. This particular tutorial assumes you know JavaScript. It assumes you know the sort of basics of how an environment like P5 or processing works. But certainly, you can go back and watch some of my early tutorials, which will kind of cover all those basics before diving right in. Okay. Okay, there's people are having a discussion about this. Yes, some people are asking about, I did do a whole set of videos about just HTML, CSS, and P5 DOM that'll help fill in some of these gaps. There's a really interesting point here. The Gankable player on Twitch writes, so he or she is asking about, the Gankable player is asking, OK, so why instead of having at each of these spots a red, green, and blue and alpha values, separate spots, why not just have the array itself have some sort of color object, right? So the index values are 0 and 1, and there's an object here that has like a red, green, blue, and alpha element of the object. So I would say that that's a totally reasonable, interesting idea. And if I were making up a pixel-based library framework from scratch, I might do it that way. And P5 certainly could do it that way. However, native HTML5 JavaScript, the way it works is not this way. It's with having RGB alpha as separate elements. Maybe there's a speed or efficiency issue there. And so I think for P5 to kind of work in the same way is good in that you're not, if you're kind of moving back between native JavaScript and Canvas and using some P5 stuff, it's not going to be different. So I think kind of like building a layer that allows you easier, quicker access to the pixels, but not change the way the pixels are organized is kind of a good compromise, I think. OK, let me come back over here, see if there are other questions. Performance issue, yeah. So one thing I'll say, the Gankable player also wrote, I'm thinking I'm not good enough for open source. One thing that I think is really important to say about P5.js, P5.js is an open and welcoming community to people of all ages, of all genders, of all backgrounds, of all countries, and of all skill levels. So you should come onto P5 and file a GitHub issue or check out the wikis, participate in the open source community that a P5 is, and not worry about whether you are at the right level or not. Because one of the things about P5 is to really try to create as open and welcoming a community in terms of P5 development. And also I'll mention, let me come over here and plug somebody else's videos, which is Luisa Pereira, am I pronouncing? Vimeo, P5.js. Let me see if this is going to come up. Looking inside. So Looking Inside P5 is a video series that Luisa Pereira is making, which is, it's on Vimeo. It's a tutorial series, but it's not about a programming tutorial. It's a tutorial about how P5 as an open source project is organized for a beginner and how you could contribute and participate in that. So I encourage you guys to check those videos out as well. OK, so I'm going to let you know, it's almost noon, and I was going to take a break at noon for a little bit. And I'm going to come back. I'm going to answer more questions, because if I can, let me come back here and look at my list here. So I got through this much. So I want to do maybe these 4 topics later this afternoon. See if I can get to them. Yeah, so that's what's happening today. Let me look at the chat. OK, so Kujung Sherpa writes, Question, is it reasonable to use processing to write Android apps? Yes. In fact, it is not only reasonable, it is encouraged. Processing, there is actually, let me just launch processing for a second. Oh, did I update to the most recent version? I'm going to launch, this is processing. If you're not familiar with it, it's a creative coding environment built on top of Java. So for like desktop application development. And you'll notice up here, there's this little tab that says Java. And you can also write your processing sketches in Python if I change to Python mode. This wouldn't be there by default. You've got to go to add mode. And here's one that I don't have added. I will add it right now. Let's see if this works. I'm going to hit install. So I've now installed Android mode. And I can now switch to Android mode. Oops. I think I have to, so this is telling me I also have to go and download the Android, I have to click this. So it's going to do a lot more downloading to download the Android SDK, but you can actually use processing itself to develop Android apps. It's designed to do that. I would say that it's in development. There's probably a lot of things that work and some things that maybe don't work as well. But if I Google Android processing, the place where you should start is this particular wiki. github.com/processing/processing-android wiki. And you'll see there are a whole lot of instructions and information for how to run on a device and get started and that sort of thing. So I don't have a lot of experience using processing for Android, but I hope that you will look into it and contribute to the project if you find things. Paul McGuire asks, what are you using for your real-time Chroma key? I am using a software called Wirecast. It's commercial software. It costs somewhere in the hundreds of dollars. But it has a lot of features for me. It has a feature that allows me to take multiple camera feeds in as well, and I've hooked up a button to switch between them automatically. It also allows you to live broadcast to YouTube or Twitch or any of these things. So that's what I'm using currently. Let me see if I have any important emails about my meeting at noon that might be pushed back, in which case I might keep going. I don't see anything about that. Okay, so it looks like, let me look on Twitter here for a second. Okay, so that seems to be the last question. Where else is this being streamed? So currently, I haven't really decided. I would love feedback about this. I have been doing all my streams on YouTube. So, just to put some URLs here for you guys. Currently, I am youtube.com/Schiffman. So, and /live is where the YouTube live stream is that some of you are watching. Later, the sort of edited chunks of videos get uploaded as standalone chunks. They appear on YouTube. I also started recently streaming to twitch.tv/codingrainbow to see how Twitch worked as a technology, to see if there was a different community there that might discover and enjoy the videos or live streams. So I don't know. I think I'm on a Verizon Fios connection here. It seems to be streaming fine to both at the same time and recording. I've got a Mac Pro doing all this. But please, if you notice the stream is having issues or the audio is cutting out, that sort of thing, please let me know. These are the two places where I'm streaming at present. So I think, good lunch. Oh yeah, so somebody asks, can I open 2 windows in one program? I don't know exactly what you're referring to, but I did recently make a video that's on my YouTube channel about multiple canvases in the same P5 sketch using something called instance mode. So if you go to my YouTube channel and search instance mode Schiffman on YouTube, I'm sure you'll find it. So I hope to be back at around 2 p.m. Eastern time. Stay tuned to my Twitter. I'm just plugging everything right now. Follow me at twitter.com/Schiffman. I hope to be, I think about a couple hours I have a meeting. I'm going to grab some lunch. I want to finish these videos. I definitely won't be going any later than 4 p.m. or 4:30 p.m. Eastern time today. So sometime between 2 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. I will come back live. I also, if you want to be able to sign up for alerts, if you go to Schiffman.net, that's my website, Schiffman.net, there is a email. You can put your email in here to get updates. The thing is, I've said this every time now, MailChimp has blocked me because I guess I sent my test email out incorrectly, and they blocked me as a spammer. So I'm getting your email addresses, but MailChimp isn't letting me send anything. So I haven't sent out any of these updates yet. But I do plan on doing so. Or maybe I'll just use something else besides MailChimp if somebody has an idea of a different service I should use. I guess I could just make a Google group, actually. Could just use a Google group. Can I make an announce only Google group? Be interesting. It could be interesting to have a discussion group on Google and let people actually, but I don't know. This is opening too many doors. The processing forum, if you're looking for a place to ask questions, I try to answer them in the YouTube comments, but also the processing forum. Okay, let's see if there's any other questions. Oh, a message box on top of the real sketch. Well, I don't know if you're asking about processing or P5. But hello, France. Bonjour, or bonsoir, I guess, depending on, it's like 6 o'clock in France, probably. Portaboy asked, on top of the real sketch. If you're talking about processing, I think there's a library you can get for processing that allows you to have two windows open. If you're talking about a P5 sketch, a web browser, there's lots of different ways with HTML and CSS to overlay content on top of other content. And that would be a great, I think I might have actually covered that in one of my P5 DOM library videos. I'll show you where that is if anyone wants to know. If I can go to youtube.com/Schiffman. Oh, look, it says I'm live now. Look at that, 27 watching. If I go down to this one, P5JS tutorial part 2, HTML, CSS, DOM, cover in this video series all the sort of DOM stuff to have different DOM elements on top of stuff. Okay, it's 6 p.m., yeah. Okay, I think that seems like all the comments for now. So it's noon. I think I've been streaming for 2 hours. I was watching this guy, I think it's Run It Up on Twitch. It's Jason Somerville. It's like a poker player. He streams for like 8 hours a day, has like millions of followers. I wondered if I just came here and started streaming coding for 8 hours a day. I don't know what would happen to me, but that sounds like fun. Okay, I'm gonna stop the stream. Tweet at me. See you maybe later this afternoon. It'll be late for Europe, but more reasonable time for those of you maybe on the West Coast, or I don't know if anybody in Australia, what time it is there watching. There's not that many. There's 26 people on YouTube and 14 people on Twitch. Okay, I've got to go, and I'll be back in a couple hours.